Friends, is astrology a science? It is neither supported by empirical observations, experimentation, or any other formulation of testable hypothesis. Even propitiation of the Navagrahas through rituals, mantras, and gemstone recommendations are common practices to seek blessings or mitigate their adverse effects. Probably they are just belief systems. Should we then depend on astrology to conduct our lives? Shouldn't we be a little more discreet in what we do? Week after week, astrological profiles often provide personality descriptions that individuals may find relatable or very flattering. Some believe in astrology if they feel that the descriptions accurately represent their personalities. Some may not. However, do you know that these predictions in many publications are often repeated verbatim over a period of time, which means you get to read the same thing which appeared 2 years back, and so on. Theory of probability does the rest. Since we have a large population, the sample size is very, very large. So therefore, whatever you write will need to be true for at least a part of that population. Friends, actually many personal beliefs, particularly those related to spirituality, values, or subjective experiences, one's own experiences, are not directly testable or falsifiable through scientific methods. And therefore, science cannot provide evidence for or against them. But then, some people mistakenly believe that science is a belief system or that scientific findings invalidate their personal beliefs. It's crucial to understand that science and personal beliefs operate on different planes altogether, and they address different aspects of human understanding. That said, we must be away from statements, beliefs, or practices that claim to be scientific but are incompatible with the scientific mindset or scientific methods. That, of course, is considered pseudo-science. Friends, let's understand Navagrahas and astrology. Hinduism refers to Navagrahas or the 9 celestial deities such as the Surya or Sun, Chandra or Moon, Mangala or Mars, Buddha or Mercury, Bruhaspati or Jupiter, Shukra or Venus, Shani or Saturn, with the last 2 being shadow planets, Rahu and Ketu, which are actually mathematical points in space and not physical planets. Now, there are shlokas which define them, and there's a lot to learn from them as well. Japa kusma sankasam kasyapeyam mahadyutim tamorim parat sarvapapatnam pranatosmi divakaram Dadisanka tusharavam kshiran namasamudbhavam navami sisanam somam sambhormuktabhushanam dharani garbha sambhutam vidyutkant samapravam kumaram satyastam tam mangalam pranamamyam priyangu kalikasyamam rupena pratimam budam saumyam saumyagunopetam tam budham pranamamyam devanam cha rushiham cha gurukanchana sannibham buddhivantam triloke santam namami brahaspatim himahundam runalavam daityanam paramam gurum sarvasastra pravaktaram bhargavam pranamamyam neelanjana samabhasam raviputram yamakrijam chayamartanda sambhutam tam namami sanaischharam ardhakayam mahaviram chandraditya vinardanam sinika garbha sambhutam tar rahum pranamamyam. And finally, falasa pushpa sankasam taraka gramastakam raudram raudratmakam ghoram tam ketum pranamamyam. It's a prayer to the 9 planets that we revere and which form the basis for astrology. And they are all believed to have profound influence on human life and destiny, and are often worshipped and propitiated to mitigate the negative effects and enhance the positive influences they may have on our life. There is a belief system and there is a scientific world. And we need to find a balance between the two if we want peace in our lives. While Surya brings us strength, as the shlokas say, it brings us strength, it brings us courage and success. Chandra brings us mental stability and emotional well-being. Mangala helps us in martial qualities. Buddha enhances our communication skills and intellectual capabilities. Brahaspati is believed to bring us good fortune, prosperity and spiritual growth. Further, while Shukra is associated with romance and is worshipped to improve relationships and artistic pursuits, we worship Shani for the success through perseverance and for overcoming challenges. That leaves us the last two of them in the Graha chain, Rahu and Ketu. While Rahu mitigates negative influence and promotes clarity of thought, purpose, Ketu helps us on our spiritual path. Now that's what the shlokas actually meant. We often refer to Navagrahas as 9 planets. Even as Graha is loosely translated as a planet, it actually is not a planet. Why? First, a planet orbits the star, such as sun, does not produce its own light, but instead reflects the light of its parent star. In Navagrahas, sun is a star, moon is a satellite, and Rahu and Ketu, like I said earlier, are shadow planets, which are not physical celestial bodies, as we understand, like the other planets or stars. Instead, they are points in space where the moon's orbit intersects with the ecliptic, which is the apparent path that the sun follows across the sky throughout the year. While Rahu intersects the northern path, Ketu intersects the southern path. Uranus and Neptune technically are planets, are not even referred in our astrology. While the former was discovered way back in 1781, the later was discovered in 1846, though they must have existed from the time the solar system was formed. Even as Vedic astrology and Hinduism considers the 9 celestial bodies as having power to provide insights into a person's life and destiny, such predictions actually depend upon the positions of these celestial bodies at the time of a person's birth. That may or may not be true. Then again, our understanding of astrology and its interpretation is also limited. That said, the dividing line, however, seems to be the time of birth. What then is the time of birth? When does life begin? While some believe life begins at conception, others consider it to begin at different stages of fetal development or even at birth. What then is the truth? Technically, life begins at the moment conception happens. When a sperm cell fertilizes an egg cell, which gives rise to a unique genetic combination, and the resulting zygote contains the full set of genetic instructions coded, needed for the development of a new individual. Is this the time of birth? Friends, even if one were to assume the time of birth as when the fetus is considered to have reached a significant stage of development, and hence its viability to survive outside the womb increases, which happens to be around 24 to 28 weeks of gestation, the exact time at which a fetus is considered viable is still a challenge to estimate. Or is it the time when a child actually comes into the world? Is that the time of birth? With so many questions that are unanswered, should we disbelieve astrology? It depends on birth time. Rather, should we not leave it to the sensitivities and sensibilities of the people, or make efforts to understand the Vedic astrology much better? Interesting, isn't it? With that, I remain, friends, with the promise to be back the next week with another episode that I'm sure will rack your brains a little more. Until then, thank you, Dhanyavad, and Namaskar.